fair amount of information here, so I'm going to try to move through it as succinctly as I can. And once again, then any questions at the end, please. So natural attenuation of AMD-generated manganese by fungal biofilm and metal removal units. That box you see in the background there, that's a metal removal unit. That's what we've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years. We've got multiple patents filed on that. Moving on. So what specifically is an MRU and what is natural attenuation? The metal removal unit, that's what the MRU is an acronym for. Thank you, Malcom Crittenden, for that one. It's a wetland in a box. Natural attenuation is the process by which pretty much every and any kind of naturally occurring pollutant form can be remediated. And in a specific order based off of its biogeochemical properties. The MRU itself, as a natural wetland, or at least one that functions as a natural wetland, is also passive, gravity fed. That's what we're working with here. And then the form and the structure of the MRU itself then delineates what's going to fall out when, and whether you're going to preference for oxidative or reduced states. Who is it good for? Obviously acid mine drainage and a wide range of pHs, hard rock metals and hard rock mining looking more out west. And we've also began working with different nutrient and agricultural properties and perspectives of the MRU, and potentially as we move forward, human waste. The big thing about natural attenuation is it's a self-selecting process. That the biofilm that cultures and lives within different sections of the treatment system is self-selecting and will then determine by itself, depending on what the load characteristics are of the water, what pollutants are in it, where everything's going to fall out, and which bugs, so to speak, microbes, whether they be fungi, archaea, or bacteria, will be found within what part of the systems. This picture we have right here then is just a generalized kind of perfect setup for multiple MRUs, 2 different seeps here. The thing about an MRU is that it is scalable as well as modularized. So if you find that at a certain point you should need to slow the flow rate down, you add another box, and you're using basically splitter manifold. So depending on the load, this allows you then, if you need more time for certain characteristics, you have a very high load of, say, one form of pollutant, say manganese, over, say, iron, that you have this almost Tinker Toy or Lego block capacity to fit into fit and build a system with the MRUs to the specific parameters of that site, because God knows every single site is different. And then more specifically, who are we? Then our purpose is we provide water contaminant solutions. The MRUs are the technology that we spend our time and invest our capabilities into, and that's what we put in the ground. That picture right there is from WHS Brant. It's a DEP site in Cambria, and to my alarm, that was a baby snapping turtle. I pulled it out of the box. I'm not entirely sure how it got in there, but it makes you kind of think about your fingers when you're digging around in there sometimes. So who are we? We've got a team of 7 experts. My father, Dr. John Lennox, teaching microbiology for Penn State for 35 years. He's emeritus now. We have Shane Stair for design. And well, to keep things moving along, we've got a whole host of people, and we'd be happy to introduce more of them later on. For our government contracting, we do have our CAGE and NAICS codes there provided there. Quick list of who our clients are, and that we are here to help you solve your AMD and hard rock solution or problems. Thank you. So what is biofilm? Simply put, if you think about the skin on your teeth in the morning, that's biofilm. Biofilm covers every square inch of the planet. It's responsible for a vast majority of the productivity and biogeochemical nutrients or cycling within all environments that pretty much exist. Thinking about the boxes, thinking about the MRUs, these wetlands that we've been working on and building for a while, they have up to, in some cases, 50%, in some cases 100% of the remediation capacity when you consider things like low pH iron oxidation or nitrogen fixation, nitrogen cycling, modification, nitrite, nitrate, those forms of things that require one specific microbe. So we've been doing this for a couple years. I'm not even going all the way back to 2012. Because our original systems worked pretty well, and we started expanding, and we started really kind of keying in then on the things that required to really start removing manganese, because this is a manganese presentation from the polluted systems. Now, what you see here then is two of the very earliest systems, 2013. Flight 93 is on the left, and then Glasgow there is on the right. And what you can see then is, especially at Glasgow on the right, that is 4 different generations of MRUs. The original one there with the plastic panels, we liked it, but oxygen became an issue. We needed more O2. And then it was about that time that we started keying in on the iron and why it's so important to get the vast majority of the iron out. And we'll get into a little bit more about that in a few moments. And then the 2 plywood boxes, those are the first what we would call true MRUs. Those are the real prototypes. That is plywood and epoxy. That took a little while, but boy, the results. So moving on to those, then we're going to kind of move as quickly as we can here. Now, I had mentioned that iron is important. I'll go into it a little bit more here in a little bit, but the big thing you want, the number that we have found consistently, pretty much every single site that we have ever worked on, whether it's our MRUs or somebody else's system that may not be in compliance, it's 0.35 milligrams a liter of either dissolved or precipitating, and for the most part dissolved iron, so Fe2. If you have any concentrations greater than that, the biooxidation of manganese, and what we'll see here by fungi and the superperoxidase that they're producing is inhibited, whereas we'll get into it a little bit more in a moment. So, but 0.35, that's a number you want to keep in the back of your head. So in this system, so going back real quick, so sample points. There in this, I'm looking at Flight 93. There's one sample point here at the beginning of the polytote, and there is one sample here where it goes into the one of our early stage reactors, and then it goes out the effluents out to the right end. So moving forward again. So this would be influent, MRU in, MRU2 in, which is the red line, MRU2 out. So you're seeing a big chunk of iron, well, not an enormous chunk of iron coming out in the beginning of the system. And then also I want to note here, the 2, 3, 6, 8, 9.5. We slowly increased the flow rate as we went along to see what would happen. And of course, so that you can see then our removal rates, and a 0.35 is right around here. Now, on to the manganese. First reactor, second, and third. Now, what we were seeing is if you look at the iron then, so going back 1.5 within that range that you so coming out coming out of the first MRU, not a whole lot of manganese. Now we're looking at 10 milligrams a liter here, kind of small on the side. So we've got some treatment, but you're certainly not into your TMDLs, but you're getting some treatment, and we're getting close. We're at that 0.5, once again, 0.5 range. But then if you look at as it comes out of the entire system, the final effluent is well below that 0.35 for the entire range, all those points. Whether, matter, even all the way to the end, even as the flow rate increases, you still have good iron removal. Back to the manganese, and you can see that manganese all the way down here, some cases that's almost non-detect. If you look at July 15th, and that starts off at 6 or so. Now, of course, everything had dropped. And then looking at your flow rates, you see here now the manganese isn't coming out quite the same. But if you go back to the iron's starting to come back up as well, with above that range. And then going by the flow rates, pretty much you can see that 8 gallons a minute, 9 gallons a minute for this size system, or right around about an hour worth of residence time was just about perfect. That would be the sweet zone right there. Okay, so that was Flight 93, 2013. Now, going on to Glasgow prototypes. So we've got MRU1, well, this would be MRU1, MRU2, MRU3, I believe is how we have it set up. So looking at the data, so once again, first, looking at iron. Now, this system right here, the prototype, that polytote was clogged. It had pretty much been running for months and months in there, pretty much what ends up happening is when they're clogged, you don't see any treatment whatsoever. If anything, they can go slightly reductive because there's a loss of dissolved oxygen, and you start reversing the equations. But what that means then is that essentially this first reactor, useless when we did that whole study. But I kept it in there because I thought it was important. So really what we're looking at then is red line, yellow line, green line. So these are the iron comparisons. You've got a actually there was a pretty rapid biofilm buildup. The iron drops. There's your 0.3 line, 0.35, and that goes from 0.3 to 0.6. And then I'm looking at the total iron in milligrams per liter once again. So iron, if it carries through, everything should be looking about the same. We should expect to see manganese dropping out, which we did, but not immediately. So going back once again, real quick, we've got 0.3. Those are the lines that you want to look at. Iron in the beginning, if it's above 0.35, you would assume, okay, you're not going to see a fungal biooxidation, which in fact was exactly what we saw. And the big thing here then, and we'll get into it more in just a little bit, is that it's the fungi within the reactors that are producing a superoxidase that is oxidizing the manganese out of solution, so Mn2, manganese, and through the production of the fungi, the production of the superoxidase is then oxidizing different various forms of manganese oxides, ranciaite being one of the primaries. We've got a slide coming up in a moment for that. On this slide, what I really want to point out here is that we've got a residence time of about 2.5, 3 hours, maybe just a hair over that. But we've also got, after about a month and a half, we're seeing anywhere from 37, 36, 35 milligrams dropping down to 2. That's a pretty significant drop. Also, the important thing, one of the most important things about this slide that we have to point out is that you've got about a month and a half, month and a half, and what you see is a slow and steady drop. And initially, we've felt that this was due to a biofilm growth, that we're looking at what could be considered a growth curve, and just, in this case, reversed, where we're not seeing the the fungi grow, we're seeing the results of that in the removal of the manganese within the system. And this entire curve, then, what we're expecting, we're seeing here, is that the fungi are growing. They're producing more manganese dioxide. Now there is a certain amount of mineral forms that we expect to see as more manganese, the Mn2, depositing onto the manganese dioxide as well. We're not exactly sure how much that would be entirely. But the big thing is to take away is that the fungi, we believe in this system, were doing the vast majority, the bulk of it, and then it wasn't happening before the boxes went in, because there are our influence and then of course our effluents, even all the way at the back end, and consistent treatment. Now I do want to point out there we've got October 8th, between October 8th and 18th. I'm going to go back up. Same spike, iron. Jump back up higher, up above that 0.3, 0.35, somewhere in around there. That's what we think happened. Why we got this spike, because that's equivalent of 10 milligrams there. So we went from 2 back up to 10. I just wanted to point that out, and moving on. Okay, so that's the manganese, and that is our matrix. We use coconut coir, which is shredded up coconut husks made out of lignin. Stuff's beautiful, lasts forever. Not really, but a long time. These are the numbers then. So if we take the 5 gallons a minute and then our average removal rate of 23 milligrams, Dr. Bill Burgos then had gone over and double-checked our equations. This is also a correspondence with him. And we were averaging 281 grams of manganese per day per meter squared. That's pretty darn good. That's when we really thought, hey, we really have something. Maybe it's something about the form, but we didn't know why. Why are we getting such extremely good rates? We'll go into that a little bit more. But the next 3 years have been pretty much figuring out how did we do that. As it turns out, we hit a sweet zone. nature and Felicity were with us and gave us this opportunity to see, okay, well, you can make it work this well, but we had to figure out exactly why that happened. This is another site then, just to show that these the results are consistent. This is with Bentley Development. This is Eagle site, and we have 158 grams per day. Not quite as good as the other system. Flow rates were faster though. The faster you run them, the system itself will not have quite as much residence time, so you end up getting out larger chunks per day because you're running more of a load through, but the overall concentrations removed are going to be a bit less. Although we're still working on whether that's linear or exponentially scaling.
Hey, Colin,
Yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
I just want to interrupt you for a second. I think until now, all we've seen are the prototype boxes, and this photo behind the text is an example of the evolution. That this is even an outdated box. You have the new version, which you're going to introduce shortly, but it's important to note that the boxes have evolved, and I think, what are you estimating the current lifespan of the latest generation boxes?
Well, depending on with the business model and the warranty, anything happens to them, we're going to replace them pretty much into perpetuity is the way we're looking at it, as long as maintenance contracts are maintained. The new boxes themselves, oh boy, we're looking at the same scale as a roof or longer. They're made
They're
out
made of a high quality polymer, is that right?
yes, yeah. Is it copoly? Mm-hmm. Yes, copoly.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make that clear just so everybody understood where we were with those.
Great, and thank you for that digression. Okay, with this slide though, just wanted to show that it's replicatable. We hit another sweet zone here as well. We're starting to figure out where that sweet zone is too, and that's the important thing. It doesn't help just to have a box. You got to know where to put it and what kind of results you can expect out of it. And that's by just following the naturalization. Okay. Now, these were taken by Dr. Florence Ling, who just a newly minted doctor. I was just certainly lucky enough to meet her here several years ago. Dr. Bill Burgos brought her out to a site where she was able to take some samples from the Glasgow system. If we go back, so she grabbed samples of that stuff, the coir with manganese dioxide on it. And she was then, along with some of the scanning electron microscopes down at the Smithsonian, which she was interning at the time, was able to determine that the primary form of this biogenic, naturally occurring manganese oxide was ranciaite, which is a hexagonal burnasite. And in this case, it was primarily Mn4, was 60, I believe 60% of the material that was manganese was Mn4 within that system. And then those crazy little critters you see in there are diatoms, primary productivity, photosynthetic creatures, which would make them photoautotrophs. So another major component of any wetland system. She also took these pictures. This is a picture of the coconut coir and the manganese dioxide doing, I would say it's spalling off. Now, whether they're forming from the coir out or they're growing upon the coir and then continuing to move outwards, we're not exactly sure. That would be something that would be interesting to find out in the future. In the big picture, the treatment rates, it doesn't matter quite as much that we know that. That's more of a gee whiz, wouldn't that be great to understand that. Treatment rates are still going to be pretty stellar nonetheless. And then, of course, we took a dry weight sample from that same system, Glasgow, there as well. And of that overall system, 22% of the solids in the sample, 51% was manganese. And then I'm pretty sure after we did that, converted it over to manganese dioxide, or MnO2 of some form or other. I think it was something like 85% of that the material you were looking at was manganese dioxide. I'd have to run those again, but at least at the very basic, 51% manganese. The rest of it we figured were the silica and calcium and magnesium then associated with other biogenic forms and the diatoms themselves with the silica in particular. Okay, yeah, so we've been doing this for 4 years, and what we're seeing then is that fungi and bacteria can both oxidize Mn2, Mn3, and Mn4. The manganese itself and the peroxidase that or excuse me, the fungi and the superperoxidase that they're excreting, and it's not known exactly why right now they're doing that. We'll come to that later. But it takes a preferential claim on, in this case, iron. You got to have all the iron out first. And then I was able to dig up then another citation then speaking about the copper, then presence of super oxide scavengers. They're saying that with copper, and then we believe that this is the same case as the dissolved iron as well, and that's why it's being inhibitory of the manganese to come out until such time as the wetland, the MRU, removes enough, oxidizes, and removes enough of the iron to get you to that level. And we've called that a retocline. I've had a couple other names for it, but there is a specific line basically in the treatment system where now you're over the hump, and now the fungi can then, their superoxidase is now no longer being preferentially oxidized by anything else, and the manganese just starts spilling out. Speaking about the coconut coir, because this is important. Now, the coconut coir is a lignin, it's the third most common polymer in the world. And the big thing is that in order to break down lignin, fungi have to once again create either a superoxidase or they're calling it free oxygen-based radicals that interact with the lignin, break it down, and make it available. So because of the matrix material itself, it does become very important that there may be some additional benefits by using lignin specifically. Because we've used plastic. There's, for every professor and every guy who builds systems out there, there's some kind of material he likes to use in his systems. Calcium carbonate's a big one. Lignin is the one that we like the most for a lot of reasons. Because it has these particular characteristics that makes it last a long, long time. In a reduced or oxygen-absent system or environment, lignin is basically plastic. It won't break down. Without this free oxygen availability, you can't get rid of the stuff. Now, what does that mean to your bottom line? The same lignin, the same coconut coir that we put in the beginning on day one is going to be the same stuff you're going to see there in 10 years, which means we just reuse it, reuse it, and reuse it until it finally breaks down, and then, oh, you got to buy another bale or two after 10 years. So very cheap operating costs. And then we're also looking at the biological benefits as well. The fungi have to produce, even to break down the lignin, they've got to produce these things, these superoxidases, but in an acid mine drainage environment, hey, you've got all these other scavengers. So they're grabbing up and preferentially oxidizing, the metals, the dissolved metals, are being preferentially oxidized because of the superoxidase and leaving the lignin untouched. So if there wasn't any pollution in the water, the lignin, we believe then, would break down way faster. But because there is dissolved metals, it's basically preserving the lignin from being touched. So that's something we didn't know in the beginning. We just liked the coir because it created an enormous amount of surface area, and it was easy to clean, from a maintenance perspective. Yeah, okay, well, that's pretty much, I just said it right there, but so what? So we've got this scavengers being able to use up the superperoxidase, and the lignin is, for the most part, left untouched. Okay, and then we're going to start getting into the weeds, and I will try to keep this rather brief. And some of these slides too, then, these will all be available for later on. So as far as the citation goes, just to move things along, I won't go too much into it. But evidence for, or literature for the fungi that is doing ecological cycling, as well as the superoxidase production, and that the manganese oxides themselves, then, and they're also important because they're controlling a vast majority of the bioavailability for carbon, nutrients, all the rest of the other metals. So the very thing that's coming out into the boxes in this situation at Glasgow, Flight 93, are one of the most reactive substances that are biologically generated in the first place anyway, which constantly is creating more and more surface area, which then more biofilm can grow on and perch upon. So it really becomes this very, very pretty rapid growth phase as the box fills itself in with metals until it's time to clean it out and then you clean it out, let it go again. But as far as farming, we've got some speculations about that. I'd like to continue. Also from the literature then, but then from the literature and our own experience, once again, the 0.35, that iron level, talking about superoxides and their preferential oxidation. That the fungi exist throughout the MRUs. From what we can tell, there is the fungi and this biofilm are ubiquitous. They're throughout the entire world, the entire system. And we believe that the superoxidase is being produced throughout the entire system. So that if they're oxidizing the iron first and then the manganese, that you will have a specific line that you will be able to see. And this picture right here is one of those lines. We've got iron on the upside, the influence side, and then in the next cell, enough iron had been pulled out and it goes to manganese. I like this picture because it's a pretty clear representation of what I was originally calling a retocline, but I think it's just that preferential oxidation where we hit that line somewhere in the system and bam, then the manganese could start to fall out. Let's see, and there's a couple other points here, but we'll leave those for questions for later. Okay, and then also in continuation, the system itself then, when they drop below 3.5, manganese spills out in a very oxygen-rich environment as well. The amount of macroinvertebrates we're pulling out of these tanks is pretty incredible in some cases. We've got just dozens and dozens of newts and salamanders. The overall biodiversity that we've seen includes every kind of macroinvertebrate. Class A is more specifically Class A, Class B. You know, Class A is being the real canary in the coal mines. Caddisflies, stoneflies, mayflies, all very well represented. And because of this biogeochemical cycling, the system itself, the tanks themselves, acting like a natural wetland, will accumulate through trophic uptake and increase, well, they accumulate nutrients and carbon, and they increase their overall trophic through primary productivity. Trophism then will begin to allow for larger and more robust and more diverse forms of life, you know, all the way up to snapping turtles. So from biofilm to snapping turtles, it represents all the different stages in a well-represented wetland, but we replicate that through natural attenuation as well as through availability of lots of dissolved oxygen within our tanks, or excuse me, within the MRUs themselves. One of the other key points then also, I mentioned this before, that the manganese oxide, being as reactive as it is and in control of so many portions of the environment as far as the cycling and oxidation, you're constantly creating more and more of that manganese, these manganese oxides, this rancidite, within the tanks themselves, increasing the overall treatment capacity of the system itself until it gets to plugging, at which point overflows occur in the tanks from cell to cell to cell, intentional, I should add that. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to. And then the treatment moves on to the next cell and just takes another step down through the treatment system. Okay, so are the fungi farming? That's a question I've been asking myself for a while. And the reason we're asking that is because of the ability of the manganese dioxide, much like charcoal or activated carbon, that they are capable of bioaccumulating and locking down through cation exchange capabilities lots of nutrients. You know, big one here is phosphorus. That's the one that's water soluble. It's the only way you're going to lose it is by going down through the stream, down through the rest of the system. And of course, greater amounts of phosphorus and potassium availability means more primary productivity. So once again, you're developing an ecosystem within itself. Now, and the question was, why then are the fungi doing this? Right now, there are no definite answers for why are the fungi oxidizing manganese. It bears no direct metabolic benefit to those fungi themselves. My speculation then is that it's not a direct benefit; it's an indirect benefit. That the fungi and Dr. Carasantelli as well as Dr. Hansel have shown scanning electron microscope pictures of manganese dioxide coming out both extracellularly within the biofilm and also around the hyphae of the manganese, excuse me, the fungal hyphae itself. So we do know for a fact, and we have pictures that is in fact what's going on. But still, nobody really knew why. That's why I say farming with quotation marks around that. But it does appear that they're engendering their own environment for their own growth. That's a question that we're still working on. Once again, we definitely have the treatment rates, so we're still just kind of trying to go backwards and figure out why are they doing it. Okay, so that was you made it. That was the heavy stuff. Dr. Bill Burgos then with Penn State has asked to begin to review some of the data. We got lots of data, so hopefully this presentation is also the precursor to a publication. Hopefully this year. So we're starting to draw that together. We certainly, like, Lord knows we have lots of data. So then what we have here is a picture of the Mark 1.5, and then also its analog, the Mark 3, which is just the big brother version of what you're looking at right now. This is the newest system of the MRU. We got rid of the pipes entirely. Pipes clog. You can't get a pipe snake down through them easily. There are a lot of other drawbacks to it. It's harder for critters, different micro and macro organisms to move through the system itself. Think trout ladders. So things moving backwards and forward within the tank. This is the way we have them laid out now. It's the ability of different critters to get through the system have increased, as well as get in and out of the tanks. So when fully buried, they truly do become a fully natural part of the ecosystem that they inhabit. Think vernal ponds would be another way to think about it. One of the big key issues then, as far as a treatment perspective goes, and whether natural attenuation then touches a whole bunch of different pollutant sources, but these are modular, they're scalable, and most importantly, they are self-selective. You put them in the ground, and if you hit the sweet zone, or even if you haven't, the microbes that grow within that system then will remediate whatever pollutants are in that system, whether it's a requirement of biological remediation or just through the abiotic filtration and precipitation of things like ferric hydroxide or yellow boy within the tanks themselves. So there's a whole bunch of different means by which treatment is actually occurring within the box, and it is analogous to a natural wetlands attenuation abilities for self-selection. Okay, economic arguments. Boy, why do you want to buy MRUs and put those into your systems? We've got a couple of them. Consistent and concentrated treatment. We can put these things in pretty much anywhere. So far, the majority of our clients have been mining companies that come to us that have built their past treatment systems that were meeting TMDLs. The TMDLs move on them. We were looking, there is the rumor of going from 2 milligrams to 1 milligram of manganese per day for TMDLs. So that's a big jump for some groups, and especially when you got no more room left and your neighbor doesn't want to sacrifice any of their land to treat your problem. But when we got something that's 25 to 100 times denser treatment, we only need 25 to 100, 1/100th of this scale, so we can shoehorn into just about anything. And that's a lot of what our clients have asked us to do, and they're quite happy, and they've been meeting TMDLs now in some cases for since 2014, 2 years since the first real good Mark 1 actually went out onto the market, and we started putting them in the ground. Bentley Development, Vindex Energy, MB Energy, PADP, Cambria, and Clearfield. Clearfield has Albert's site, and Cambria would be WHS Brandt. We can put them in fast. The last system we put in for our low pH iron oxidation went in about 4 hours. Takes us a little longer than that to build the tank, but the idea is you put all the front work in on the production of the tank itself, and then the actual installation and the application once it goes onto site is fast. You dig a hole, or sometimes you don't even have to dig a hole. You just leave them on the ground and keep the water running quick enough, especially if it's out of a seep coming 50 degrees. Water doesn't have time to freeze. You can leave them sitting like that, let them run all year round. It's what we've been doing in the past. So as far as their size goes and the speed at which they can be implemented, they're still pretty technically large. There's a fair amount of materials that will go into them. The upfront costs are still, though, cheaper than the current constructed wetlands. In most cases, I know you look at a manganese bed, some of the new ones you're talking a couple $100,000 depending on how big it is and the purity of your calcium carbonate. Where did it come from? These are all things that you have to consider. Let's see. Also, we have we've got the capability as far as long-term cost goes. We're a business. These are things that we can negotiate with. And if you buy more MRUs or need more MRUs for a system, we're going to help you out. We're going to bring that price down because it behooves us to be able to have more treatment within one system. So we can definitely work with things there as far as long-term costs go. And of course, O&M, that's your bond. How long can we increase the lifetime of your bond? And then one of the other real biggies is if the fungi are primarily working at anywhere basically slightly acidic situations. Instead of having to treat all the way up to an abiotic pH point of 9, we're working right around 6.5 to get the entire load out. I know with Bentley Development, their caustic has been off since we put in the tanks 2 years ago, summer 2014. They haven't had to turn it back on yet. Now they still got a big old tank there for emergencies, just in case they have to. That's prudent. We totally understand that. But the necessity hasn't come up yet. Same thing with Dietrich site, right next door with MV Energy. They don't have any kind of caustic or some of the ore hydrated lime. It's all limestone beds. Okay, then I guess we open it up to questions. So, I'm going to bring my camera back up. Kyle, you still with me?
Yep, I'm here. You guys can either you can post in the questions box, or you can raise your hand in the other box, and we can turn your audio on, and you can dialogue with Colin here if anybody has anything.
Okay, so I'm looking at the question screen, and then I guess for the hands raised attendees. Okay. Let's see. We got Kyle. So then I guess I just click on the hand.
You want to unmute Omar's mic. You see the phone with the unmute?
Yeah. Let me see if I can unmute. There we go.
Hey, Omar, you're live.
Hi, Colin.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Real good. Real good. Yeah.
That's good. I just had a couple, I guess, hopefully quick questions. I guess if you had water with iron, manganese, and aluminum, is there, you recommend this? It's not for aluminum treatment, this coconut core. Or
Yeah, it's certainly for aluminum treatment. We've gotten it down to, I know over at Albert's site, the concentration of aluminum started going into the systems at a 0.75 milligrams. Now, granted, that's very low. But what we were looking for, I was concerned about initially, was that preferential oxidation of the aluminum before either the iron or the manganese. And the aluminum doesn't appear, and we have much more limited data as far as this goes. We've got one site with some real aluminum issues. But the aluminum doesn't appear to preferentially oxidize at that low concentration. Now, higher ones, sure. And especially in consideration of the concerns that aluminum itself, when still dissolved, is highly toxic, that we were finding in that system. We were finding issues with phosphate, what we believe to be phosphate binding, and also primary productivity being hindered or stopped entirely. So that system, Albert's site then, was one of the ones that actually didn't work for us for manganese. And what we believe then, and of course, I'm actually happy for that now, because that led us and started pointing us towards nutrients and also primary productivity as being the next step. And this is before I'd ever met Dr. Santelli concerning the fungal oxidation. So then we didn't even know what the actor was at that point. So we started looking at that, and in another system, what we're finding is if you can either use primary productivity to build up enough food, because we're talking the fungi are chemoheterotrophs. If you can use primary productivity either through a large pond or through something like spent mushroom compost in very specific doses, such that it doesn't provide or start sucking all the oxygen out of the water and killing the fungi, that we find that basically you just got to feed them, and sometimes you can cheat and you can kickstart the system by adding compost, something as simple as that. So as far as the aluminum goes, we haven't been to a point yet where it itself is toxic, but it does slow up the rest of the process as far as trophism goes, and what would be considered succession, where you're going from one step to a next. If you consider that the water coming out of a seep, in some cases, especially if it's got high levels of aluminum in it, is not only dead, it's just so darn toxic. It takes a while to even get any kind of bugs growing. So a lot of your system in the beginning for aluminum is still going to be an abiotic system until you can get it out to the point where you're also pulling the iron, and then you can get into the manganese. So those are some of our experiences with the aluminum. I think you'd mentioned a couple other questions, please.
Okay. I'm just thinking about the maximum loading rates that this has worked for, just maximum flow and maximum aluminum or sorry, maximum iron or manganese.
As far as what are the highest concentrations that we worked with?
Yeah, just whatever you can give me, max flow, maximum iron, or maximum manganese and max loads, or that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I won't focus too much on iron right now because in another 2 weeks we've got another presentation on low pH iron oxidation. In that system we're running through 2 MRUs, anywhere from 50 to 80 gallons a minute. The iron's going in at 70 milligrams approximately. pH is dropping, and we're pulling out about 10 to 12 milligrams of iron with the pH dropping. And we believe we're seeing evidence of Thiobacillus ferrooxidans, so I won't go too much more into that. And in a lot of ways, our newest tanks really are the best ones. With the elimination of the pipes, we've gone from maximum flow rates of useful flows, 15 gallons a minute. We're bumping up now 30, 40 gallons a minute of flow for useful treatment. Now, of course, that means we can also go a lot faster than that because the overall capacity of the system that is pipeless is significantly higher. It turns out the faster you run these systems, the better they actually work. Higher levels of oxygen, because it turns out one of the other things we were finding early on is we weren't seeing something happening, so you turn the flow rate down. Ah, crap, you're still not seeing anything happening. Now you want to go the other way. And in a larger system, you actually are able to pull out larger daily loads sometimes to half a kilogram to multiple kilograms per tank, per MRU, by actually running them faster. Now, you're not going to have the same concentrations necessarily coming out. You'll have a little bit of loss that way, but the overall load removal increases, even though your overall concentration is down. For Albert's site, we were running that at 20 gallons a minute, and that was running 2 MRUs in series, which is one right after the other. Average aluminum would be around a 0.75, and it'd be going down to just about, less than 0.1. Iron would also be doing the same, right in around that 0.1, 0.2 range, but well within TMDLs. Of course, in those two systems, you were also already in TMDLs. It was already less than 1 milligram. But you have to then consider the law of diminishing returns. It's easy to get out 10 milligrams when you've already got 100 milligrams sitting in the water, but that doesn't get you to TMDLs. It's that last little bit at the tail end that is by and large the most difficult. But at Flight 93, I saw iron drop out in the first day from a 19 to a 2 milligrams at 5 gallons a minute. So there are a lot of site-specific differences. Overall, we're kind of looking at the overall loading, the daily loading, and we're seeing anywhere from tenth of a kilogram up to a kilogram or 2 for daily loadings. Then, of course, the largest we've never had an opportunity to run out 3 MRUs at once. It's always been MRU 1, MRU 2, and then that was our treatment. So we're of course always still looking for new sites to build larger systems to continue to test and sample and see what we know we're good, but how much more can we get out if we have a system that's more and more and more devoted to just MRUs instead of where we're acting as a retrofit and filling in where they just have to get over a little bump right here, and then that gets them into the manganese range. So those are some of the real flow rates and concentrations we work with so far.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Hey, Colin, can you switch that to slide 30?
Yes, absolutely. Slide 30 is... Okay. Is that it right there? Yeah. Okay. Conclusion and actions.
Dr. Beckford, Colin's contact info is there if you want to send him any site-specific data, flow rates, load numbers, you can email those to him, and I'm sure he'd be happy to get back to you quickly. Moving on, we have Aaron here is going to have a question for you. Aaron, I'm going to unmute your mic.
Aaron, how you doing? You there? Aaron, are you there?
Do we have Aaron on the line? Maybe his audio isn't working. Oh, looks like he dropped off. Maybe he lost his connection.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did he come back?
Aaron is with DEP then. He actually is overseeing Albert's site, which we are still on and working on right now. That is that aluminum site. What a beast of a site, too. It's along the lines of, I can't remember how many milligrams of aluminum are coming out initially, but it's the worst I'd ever seen. The rest of the system then treats the aluminum down to about 1. So it's a robust system. It works really well. But they weren't concerned at that site about the aluminum so much as the manganese. And then going back into the primary productivity, the aluminum holding back the succession of that system. And that one's been in since 2014. Let's see his
Did he jump back on?
It looks like his mic's green. Aaron, are you there, bud? No.
Yeah, we're not picking up an audio from him. Anybody else have any questions while Aaron figures out his audio connection?
Let's see.
While we're waiting for Aaron, also, Aaron, if you're on, you can speak. We should be able to hear you if you get connected. On these conclusion and action step slides, we're going to be attending some events in the upcoming months. The DARPA conference, Colin, that's in Virginia. When does that happen? Do you have the specific date?
DARPA is the 11th, 12th, and 13th, actually at their conference center, and we're going to be, as well as the mining markets that we've been working with here. We're also looking at applications as far as human waste, as well as other forms of bioreactors, looking into reducing reactors for selenium, methane, potentially even uranium moving forward here. So we've got a lot of other applications that have pretty widespread needs in markets. And that's one of the things that we'll be investigating there at DARPA, as well as going to be out at Mine Expo. So if anybody's out there at Mine Expo, stop on by. That'll be in Vegas in September as well. Really looking forward to that. That's the Olympics of mining, because it comes around once every 4 years.
We're going to be, who are the booths that we're going to be with so they can find us?
That'll be through, it's actually a whole Pennsylvania area. That's SAP-DNC, Southern Alleghenies Planning and Development Commission, which is a nonprofit helping businesses develop, much like Ben Franklin Technology Partners, who has been kind enough to help us through our development these last 2 years.
And then coming up in September, we have a low pH iron oxidation webinar we're going to be talking about. Colin, do you want to provide any teaser information for that?
Yeah, well, they work pretty well. We've been able to find a food source basically for these thiobacillus ferrooxidants. This is a site that we've been sampling now since January. And we put 2 MRU Mark 1.5s on site with the good graces and the assistance of the Altoona Water Authority, and Tobias Nagel's overseeing it. And we've been able to pull a fair amount of iron, actually. The flow rates that we're working with, and this is one of the ones where we're really seeing a lot more oxygen, does a lot more good. You actually want to run the systems faster. It kind of like acts like a turbocharger in a really souped up Corvette, where you're dumping more O2 in, so you can burn a lot more fuel and get a lot more propulsion and thrust. That's one of the big things that we've been able to do. So the capabilities of the tank itself have improved pretty significantly as far as the overall flow patterns, how much easier it is to clean out the new ones, which directly impacts the long-term maintenance of the system. But then speaking about the low pH iron oxidation itself, we're seeing consistent rates, and we've found out a couple ways to increase those rates as well, but without any additional costs. So we're really getting some good numbers coming back, and that'll be the next webinar.
Okay, guys. Well, we're running up on the hour mark here. Colin, do you have anything else you wanted to leave everyone with, or?
Well, we've got inventory, and we like doing demo contracts. So if you've got a site that you think that this would be a good application for, but you're not necessarily sure you're ready to go all in yet, these demo contracts are done so that you have an opportunity to put a system, put out 2 boxes on site, but you don't have to buy them. What this does is it gets us some more data, gives us a chance to get some proper scaling, and see exactly where we are in within the natural attenuative capacity of the existing treatment system. So it's a way to get a system put in without having to worry about ponying up the entire cost of it up front. So that would be a big one. So if you got a site, please, I'm happy to come on out. We do free consultations all the time, and of course, as any of our clients can tell you, we're only ever a phone call away. And once you got us, once you contracted, you will have some knowledge of everything and all of our experiences, and we're there pulling for you to keep you within your TMDLs.
Okay, great, Colin. We will send out the slideshow and also the recording of this webinar. Feel free to share it with anybody you feel the knowledge may be helpful to. As you know, we're pioneering a bit of a new field. It's not new in some ways, but the application is certainly new, and any brain power you can bring to this, or anybody you think can help sort of understand what's going on, by all means, join the conversation, and we welcome any feedback. All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap it up, and I will hopefully see you on the next webinar in September to talk about low pH iron oxidation, or maybe we'll meet you in person at some of the upcoming conferences. So, all right, best of luck. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you.